Hey, what's up? This is DilioT2K, and in this video, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how I fixed Native Instruments Machine. I received an email asking about it, and I thought I maybe might get into some more details and some of the tools I use to help make this possible. Now, once again, I want to give the disclaimer that if you fix Native Instrument Machine, you accept full responsibility for it. You do this on your own. I have nothing to do with that decision, and something bad happens to you and machine freaking explodes in your face, that is your responsibility because you accept full responsibility for fixing your machine. I accepted full responsibility for fixing mine because I had experience in working in circuit boards and motherboards. I've repaired this Motif XS, ES, I'm sorry, I wish it was an XS. And I accepted the responsibility of it because very well I could have ruined my machine and not been able to work with the clients that I needed to work with, which was the situation and what forced me to really just go ahead and fix it. I already ordered the parts and just forced me to go ahead and fix it and say, you know what, I got clients that want to work on music. I can't wait on Native Instruments who doesn't respond to me in a timely manner to get this done. So I went on and got this done. So let me just talk about some of the tools I used. Thank you Skill Center, thank you Full Cell for introducing me to the solder sucker. You're going to need one of these to clean out the old solder off of the old USB port that goes onto the Native Instruments motherboard. You're going to need one of these. You apply some heat with your iron, get that solder sucker on there, boom, clean it out, boom, because you're going to deal with 4 holes and two holes on the outside of it that are securing machine and the USB port together. And what you want to do, you want to get in there and brush those out. I had a little brush here just to brush away debris and dust. Make sure you discharge all your static electricity. Make sure you don't do any damage there because you definitely don't want to short out your circuit board. It was a pretty intimidating process because it was the parts are really small. The smaller the soldering iron you have, the better. I actually had a pretty blunt one, but I was able to work through it just with some skill and some know-how, and it took some time. Because when you're removing the first solder part, I actually kind of ripped it off. I kind of wiggled it around and ripped it off to get it off because my iron was just too blunt to get to where it needed to go. However, there's like 4 joints in there, and there's like 2 big ones right there, and they all connect in there. Basically, I just removed all the solder around them, and very delicately though, because there's metallic rings that integrate into the motherboard directly that the USB port solders directly into, and if you keep those things separate, or if you don't be careful, you could damage the motherboard. But you have to be really careful to get that solder out from around there. And then you can remove the old USB part. I kind of wiggled it around, broke it to where the electrodes were still in the motherboard, and I applied solder and heat and actually kind of vacuumed the small ports out. The big ones I could kind of just vacuum out right there. And what you're going to be left with after you remove the 4 USB, well, the 4 connectors, or the 4 solder points, and the 2 solder points there, is approximately 6 holes, 4 small ones and 2 bigger ones, giving you a total of 6 holes. And you want to make sure that you get in there and you clean out those solder points and make sure they're clean. Make sure you leave that metallic ring up in there because once again those go directly into the circuitry of the motherboard, and that's what you solder against to complete the circuit so that the USB port can function with the motherboard so that it can talk to your computer. With that being said, once I got the old solder point out, it was very easy to get the other solder point out. One thing you want to make sure that you keep track of is that when you're repairing machine, you want to make sure that just imagine an X-ray view through this front panel right here. In machine, the motherboard sits right about here. Okay, right about here is where the motherboard sits, and then these 2 mini ports right here are coming down off of the motherboard. Same thing with this USB port here is coming down off of that motherboard there, or breadboard, whatever you want to call it. And if you pay attention to where this is at here and where this is at here, you notice there's a straight line there because that's where the motherboard sits and keeps everything together. So after you've gotten the old USB port out, you want to put in a new USB port in. Just sink it in. What's going to happen, there's basically six places of connectivity there, but there's going to be 2 on the front of the USB port that kind of looks like this. Imagine this being a USB port, and these 2 joints right here are what fasten it to the motherboard and gives it its strength, so you can plug it in and plug it out. So when you slide that in, it's gonna be like a snap. It almost snaps in. Once you got the old one out, you have to snap it in like that. It just kind of just fits in there, and then there's two holes there, and you have to apply solder to those two there, and then you got like four more in the back of it. Just make sure those all line up. Very extremely small solder points. You don't really have to apply a lot of solder for strength for those four small ones. Just enough so that it can get enough connectivity to connect the circuit and make sure that it all connects together and the computer can talk with the interface and back and forth. And then the two big ones need a lot more solder, not like a whole globules, but just enough to make a good connection, a firm connection. If you have experience with soldering, which I am imagining you do if you're understanding a word I'm saying, enough solder so that you get a good, nice circuit. You can jiggle it around, it stays connected, no shortages or anything like that. And you also got to make sure that not one solder joint connects the circuit with another solder joint either, or you'll just get a short circuit and it won't function. So that's basically in a nutshell of what I did to repair that product. Just make sure you got your solder sucker there. A small solder tip is very important. You probably have a lot easier time doing everything if you have a small solder tip than a big one. And once you get everything done, you slap everything back together and you plug this in, and what'll happen is this will light up and you got your machine back that you paid $600 for. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for watching. Make sure you subscribe and all that good stuff. Make sure you support and all that good stuff, and stay tuned to DeLeoT2K. Subscribe, Facebook, Twitter. You know how we get down. And stay tuned for more vlogs and all this good stuff. I'm thinking about trying Ableton Live with machine controller and just trying to understand how that works. But if you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me or ask in the comments. All right, peace.